Who wins the upper weights of the 2021 NCAA Wrestling Championships next year? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name is Josiah, and welcome to Ncaa Wrestling. This is part 2 of a National Wrestling Championships predictions video, so if you want to check out part 1, make sure that you check that out right here. I'll have it linked 125 all the way up to 157. Now we're on to 165 pounds, and 165 pounds is going to be so exciting to talk about. Now, of course, we have Vincenzo Joseph, who's out this season. He's graduated in weight now, but we still have Alex Marinelli. The Bull is back for another shot at a national title. And you know what? I actually think that he gets his national title once and for all. I think that Alex Marinelli has a great shot to win a national title. He's been a top-ranked wrestler for the past few seasons, although he has unfortunately underperformed at the national tournament. I think that this is his year. Now, he's not going to have an easy route by any means because, of course, you have Mekhi, the sophomore out of Virginia Tech, coming back, who is the reigning national champion because, of course, the National Wrestling Championships didn't happen in 2020, so technically Mekhi is still the reigning champion. He does have a win over Alex Marinelli in the NCAA semifinals, where he beat him by a score of 3-1. Now, at the end of that match, I mean, if you kind of watch over that match one more time, which I recently watched it, I highly recommend that you do, you see that it was kind of tied up, and Alex Marinelli was kind of rolling around trying to get out of a single leg, trying to get out of Mekhi Lewis's takedown. Now, Mekhi Lewis has some impressive defense as well as, a great offense, able to shoot and score from most positions, but Marinelli kind of gave up that takedown at the end, where I think, these two, put them together again, going to give you a great match. Of course, you have Shane Griffith, who many people we're excited to see, including myself, who was 28-0 this year out of Stanford. It's going to be exciting to see how he does because he didn't necessarily wrestle as much competition as Vincenzo Joseph or Alex Marinelli, but he was still undefeated as a freshman. Evan Wick and Logan Massa coming back out of his Olympic redshirt year is going to be tough. Some tough competition, but that's 165 pounds. Moving on to 174 pounds. Who gets the W here? And I have to give it to another Hawkeye in Michael Kemmer. The Hawkeyes are going to have another phenomenal season with 9 out of their 10 returners coming back into their lineup, and I will get to the team race at the end of this video, but Michael Kemmer of Iowa is a 2-time All-American, 15-1 last season, knocked off Mark Hall throughout last season, who, many people saw Mark Hall as going probably undefeated last season until Michael Kemmer bumped up from 157 to 174 and took him down. Now, he did lose to him at the Big Ten Championships, but guess what? He could have got revenge at Nationals, and you never know. But the rest of the competition, you have Miles Amin out of Michigan, Mikey Labriola out of Nebraska, Caleb Romero of Ohio State, and Anthony Valencia of Arizona State, as well as a couple other contenders who aren't necessarily on this list. I'm just going off the top 5 contenders who I think can win a title. Now, looking at Miles Amin, I think poses the biggest threat to Michael Kemmer because most of his losses in the previous season, he was 22-4. 3 of those losses came to Michael Kemmer, and one of them came to Zahid Valencia. Well, both of those guys are out of the lineup now, and Miles Amin is going to pose a big threat for a title. Now, listen, you can say that Miles Amin lost to Mark Hall, and he's never beat him, and yeah, that makes sense, and that's kind of why I have Kemmer above Miles Amin. But I'm interested to see how those two match up, considering it's a Big Ten matchup. Also in the Big Ten, Romero and Labriola, I think, are going to pose some credible threats, and it'll be exciting to see how that does. I also want to mention Carter Staronchi coming out of Penn State, a redshirt freshman, was 19-0 in his redshirt season. Although he didn't wrestle really anybody of note, it's just another exciting guy out of Penn State. We'll see if he does a Mark Hall level excitement in matches, but that's yet to be noted. Moving on to 184 pounds. This may be a name you forgot about, and I understand why, but you shouldn't, because I think he's winning a title, and that's Max Dean. Max Dean, the junior out of Cornell, is a 2-time All-American, a national finalist in 2019. Now, last year he did wrestle a couple of matches. He was 10-0, but during his Olympic redshirt year. And what a match he had. What a season he had in 2019, where he was majored by Miles Martin earlier on the season. Miles Martin out of Ohio State. He just kept closing that gap and ended up winning at nationals, where he beat him, moved on to the national finals, ended up losing to Drew Foster in the finals 6-4. But what a darn match that, and what a season and tournament that Max Dean had. And I'm excited to see how he does next year. But this is one of the most exciting weight classes, again, for me. You have 133, you have 141, but then you have 184. Max Dean, Aaron Brooks, Hunter Boland, Taylor Venge, Lou Dupre, all these guys are contenders. And then you don't want to forget about Nina Bonacorsi, Cam Caffey, Abe Assad, Rocky Jordan, Trent Hiley. So much action is going to be here at 184 pounds next year. Hunter Boland, of course, it is the ACC champ coming out of last season, 24-2, who has wins over Trent Hiley at the ACC, as well as Lou Dupre. Aaron Brooks, the Big Ten champ, who beat Cam Caffey in the finals. What a season, what a breakout season he had. I would have been so pumped to see how he did at Nationals. But and then the other guy you have who is a All-American is Taylor Venge, and one of the only All-Americans within this batch of wrestlers besides Max Dean. I'm excited to see how he does, and please let me know in the comments below who you think, who are your picks for every single weight. Now, moving on to 197 pounds, this is an interesting weight, and my pick right here has to be Noah Adams. Noah Adams, it was undefeated, 32-0. Now, if you watch my What If prediction series, I didn't necessarily choose Noah Adams to win that, so you may be wondering why I have him winning this. Well, he's such a toss-up because he did have great matches in his undefeated season, but he didn't wrestle that Big Ten schedule. Being from West Virginia, he didn't have that Big Ten schedule, so he was the Big 12 champ, but we don't know how he would have done at Nationals. Now, that's how a couple of these guys are. You look at the next guy who I think is a contender in Ben Darmstadt out of Cornell. Darmstadt is a two-time EIWA champ, won it last year. His best win of the year was over Bruck. He moved up from 184 to 197. He is a previous All-American, whereas Noah Adams is not. So, you have some competition there with who knows what could happen. Jay Yellow out of Virginia is a senior coming back, ACC champ. I think he poses a real threat for the title, as well as Eric Schultz out of Nebraska and Jacob Warner out of Iowa. Warner had a solid Big Ten tournament, beating Davison and Rashid, and ended up taking third place, 20-4. He's another great Hawkeye coming into 197 pounds. Then you have, of course, Patrick Bruckey out of Oklahoma State, Cordell Norfleet out of Arizona State, the Big 12 or the Pac-12 champ, and Greg Bolzak out of Clarion, who is the MAC champ, who I think could be an underdog in a real dark horse coming into Nationals next year and next season, seeing how he progresses in the offseason. But we're at 285 pounds before we get to our team rankings, and maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't. Please comment below, let me know. But Gabriel Steveson has had such an impressive career up to this point. 15-0 last season he was. His only two losses in his college career were coming from his freshman season to Anthony Cassar, who of course is gone now, not wrestling, not finishing out his wrestling career because of injuries, unfortunately. But Gabriel Steveson has, out of all of these guys really who I'm picking as contenders to win, he has had the most impressive resume, beating Mason Parris 8-6, beating him at the Big Ten Championships, beating Anthony Cassiope twice, beating Hilger, Wood, and Nevels in 285, really. I mean, look, you look at the contenders here at 285 pounds, and there's a real ladder of progression. Gabriel Steveson beat all these guys below him. Mason Parris beat every guy below him, but he lost to Steveson. Cassiope beat every guy below him, but lost to Mason Parris, getting pinned by him. Matt Stencil, same situation. Hilger, same situation. So really, this is exactly what I expect to happen. Now, a dark horse I have here, and you may be interested to hear about this, is a guy from Penn State, Greg Kirkfleet, who originally was committed to Ohio State, ended up transferring to Penn State last year, and he gave Gabriel Steveson one of the most exciting matches in high school. Both incredibly talented high school wrestlers. It was a 3-2 score in front of thousands of fans in Apple Valley, Minnesota. And you never know what may happen next year. Steveson going into his junior year, and of course Kirkfleet going into his redshirt freshman year. What may happen there? We'll just have to find out. Now, if you're interested in learning what the team race looks like, make sure that you check out this video coming on Sunday where I dive deep into the NCAA championships. Is it Penn State? Is it Iowa? Is it Ohio State? Or another team? Stop stalling and click that button.